Okay, so what I figured out is that this mark right here is the one that I showed you earlier, and actually that was incorrect on my part. This mark here is actually what is supposed to line up the crankshaft. And there's actually, see if I can get in there close enough to show you that the marks right there, that lines up with the dimple on both the cams. So this, I don't know what that dot is for, honestly, I'm not sure. So anyhow, that's the proper alignment, and of course that's at 0. Part 2, the oil leak is actually coming from behind here. So you have to take this apart. Actually, I think honestly this cover is, this cap right here is what the leak is. Because this got a bunch of silicone on it, and that's not supposed to have silicone on it. So anyhow, that I think is leaking, but you can take these 5 bolts off here, and there's an O-ring on the inside of there. Now what I need to do is, I gotta find the part. I called the dealer and they want to sell this whole sprocket assembly instead of just selling the seal, and it's like $400, which there's nothing wrong with this other than it's leaking a little oil. So I'm gonna do a little bit of homework, and I will be back with you here in a minute once I figure out everything out. All right, well, unfortunately, I've got to go to work, so I did do a little research. I did find the part. I'm going to go ahead and get it ordered up, and then hopefully it will be here in a couple of days. I'm leaving town for 3 days out of town just for a little mini vacation, but anyhow, I wanted to at least let you know that I did find those parts, and I do have, I'm going to have them coming, so by the time my next video comes out, I should have them in hand, and then we can go ahead and proceed with resealing that cam gear, and then put the new tensioner and the new timing belt on there, and install the water pump and do all that. That being said, I really appreciate you watching my video, and if you're new to the channel, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, little post notification bell, so that way you don't miss anything. And you know, I should have another video coming out here real soon. Once I get the timing belt on, I should be able to start mocking up the transmission and bell housing and all that stuff. I'm going to get that all set together on the floor, make sure everything works and it's everything's positioned where it's supposed to be. So that should be coming up real soon, because I know a few of you want to see how that's all going to work out and how the Toyota 4-wheel drive transmission is going to fit on a engine that it didn't come with. Anyhow, so with that being said, thank you once again for watching, and have a great day, and we'll see you next time. All right, so as I stated in the last video about the resealing the variable valve timing gear, I went to the dealer, and the dealer basically told me, oh, well, they'll sell me the whole gear that's completely assembled, but they wanted like $300 or $400 for it, which is kind of ridiculous. So actually, the guy at the dealer told me, he goes, that aftermarket companies make them. So I did a little bit of research on it, and I did find somebody that makes them, and I have it right here. I bought this from a place called Drift Motion. I guess they do a lot of 2JZ stuff for drift cars. That's my understanding anyway. I didn't really look into it that much, because basically what I wanted to do was to get this. So this big O-ring is going to go on the back side of the gear, and then this this smaller one goes on that nut that I showed you in the last video. So anyhow, so what we're going to do is we'll go ahead and pull that apart, and I'll go through everything with you, and we'll go from there. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to rebuild this thing with it on the car, or on the engine. The cool part is that it really isn't going to affect any of the timing belt or marks as far as the cam goes. Everything happens inside of this unit right here. So what I'm going to do first is take this cap off, and that was the one gasket that I showed you. And then secondarily, it's important to note where these dots are. That one, especially this notch right here, because when you take it, it's going to turn when you take it out, and so you want to make sure to clock it and get it back in the right spot when you put it back together again. So basically what I'm going to do is, since it's at the 6 o'clock position, we'll just note that, reference in our mind, and then take these 5 bolts off, and then this thing should pop right off. Okay. So if you've already done the timing belt and all that and got this all cleaned up, it would be a really good idea to put a rag underneath of here. That way, because there's going to be oil leaking out of here when you take it off. It's just a product of how it works. So anyhow, I haven't done the belt yet. I'm going to get this done first, and then when I get it all sealed up, then I'll go ahead and clean all this up and then do the belt. I'm just doing it the opposite way. So this whole thing slides right out. And as you can see, it wants to turn when I pull it out. So we just got to remember that we just got to clock it back in the right area when we put it back together again. Just like that. And there's the O-ring that I was talking about right there, that seals on the backside of right here. So anyhow, we're going to go ahead and clean this up. I'll pop this seal off of here, and then we'll put the new seal into place. Clean this up too, and clean that, and we'll get the O-rings all put in there and assemble this back together. So anyhow, I am going to I'll put it on time lapse because obviously cleaning this up is, well, it is what it is. It should be pretty straightforward. Alright, so we're going to take this O-ring. There is a groove in here inside the cam gear that this actually sits into, so I'm hoping my hope is that I can actually get it to just set in here, so that way when I put the gear back on, or put the cover back on, it should just stay right into place. That's my hope anyway, so let's see what happens here. Let's see if it'll actually cooperate or if it's going to be a pain in the butt. I may have to stretch the O-ring out a little bit too. It may be a little, maybe a little small. I'm gonna have to stretch it out a little bit. Let's see here. Nope, it's not gonna stay there. Shit. Okay. Well, then I think what I'll do is come on. Okay. See if I did read in a blog somewhere that you might want to stretch these a little bit. I was a little leery about doing that because once you stretch it, you can't make it shrink again, at least as far as I know. So I really didn't want to do any of that until I knew for sure that that was the case. Lip is just not very big. Oh, what a pain in the ass, huh? Alright, well, since you understand what I'm going to do, this may take me a little bit of fumbling around, so I'm going to go ahead and put it on time-lapsed, and then that way you guys can see. Once I get it all figured out, I'll slow her back down again. I finally got that damn thing on there. So what was happening is that the O-ring was, it kept shrinking back down. I would stretch it out and it would fit, and then it would slowly go back to where its memory was. So what I did is I used a stretching tool. Basically, I put the O-ring on the end of the cup, let it stretch it out, and at least it would hold for, I don't know, the 10 seconds it took to get that gear back on there. So I did get it in there, and I did get it bolted all up. I am, however, going to leave the upper cover off, so that way when I start it up, I want to make sure that that thing's holding properly, because I can fix it in the truck if I have to. I don't think it's going to be an issue, but you know, since I just had to quickly put it all together, I just better safe than sorry. So anyhow, I got my new seal on the plug. So we're gonna put the plug in. So ironically, if you've seen in my other videos, on the Jeep Cherokee project I was working on, the differential plug or fuel plug on that Jeep was a 14 millimeter. I'll be damned if that isn't what that is. Unfortunately, that tool that I bought went with the Cherokee because I assume that they're going to need it in the future. So what we did is we went super robust. Actually, Nick built this while I was, I think I was finishing up the gutter, fixing my gutters. So anyhow, what that is, a 14 millimeter bolt, and looks to be like a 17 millimeter nut, and a bunch of, well, there's a lot of heat poured into that thing. Giuseppe, what do you think, huh? What do you think, Giuseppe? Huh? Where are you going? So anyhow, so this is going to be my tightening tool as well. Just like so. Awesome. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and tighten that up, and then once I get that tightened up, we'll go ahead and back off the tensioner and replace the belt and the water pump. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and just throw it on time lapse, and then I'll let you guys can see what I'm doing, and I'll sum it up here in just a moment. Alright, so I got the water pump off. Oh shit, and I'm leaking all over inside my toolbox. So we gotta replace this gasket and that O-ring. And where the fuck is the other one at? And that O-ring, and then this O-ring inside of here. So hopefully they all came with the kit. If not, I'll have to try and get one tomorrow. So anyhow, we're gonna go ahead and assemble the other water pump and try and get this thing put together. Alright. As you saw, I got the water pump off. So anyhow, it only came with a gasket and an O-ring, so I'm gonna have to order some more parts. They came with this O-ring that goes into the block, and then it came with this gasket here that bolts to the water line. And I'm also gonna go ahead and try and get a thermostat and gasket for it, but I need the two O-rings that go onto this little pipe that sits inside of the water pump and goes inside of here, and then I also need to get this O-ring here. So anyhow, I'm gonna figure out what kind of a time frame I got for those, and I'll be back in just a minute. All right, well, good news is the parts are readily available, so I did order them from online, so I should have them in 1 to 2 days, hopefully. So anyhow, I'm just gonna put a hold on putting the water pump on until the parts get here. It's gonna make it way easier to assemble this all as one piece instead of trying to move it around and all that. So anyhow, we'll get back at it when the parts get here tomorrow. Alright, well, thanks a lot for watching my video. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button down below, and hit the little post notification bell, that way you don't miss anything. And I will start a video when I get the parts in here. It'll probably be a couple days, unfortunately. So anyhow, I appreciate you watching, and have a great day, and see you next time.